Hello, guys. Welcome back to Logic for Faith, folks. This is now the third part, I believe. We've done an introduction. I think in the last installment, we were talking about terms of logic. We were defining terms and the three acts of the mind: simple apprehension, judgment, and reasoning. Now we are about to get into the next installment, which is categorical propositions in Aristotelian logic. Well, let's get into it. Um, what is a categorical proposition or statements? Sometimes propositions are also called statements. A proposition is a statement that affirms or denies something. In other words, it can be either true or false. So this should remind you immediately of one of the acts of the mind that we've already talked about, which would be judgment. So a proposition, so we are at that level of the act of the mind, can be true or false. Now, a categorical proposition, on the other hand, has two parts. I'm sorry to take you back to grammar class, but there's a little difference here, but the idea is very similar. A categorical proposition has two parts. There's the subject of the proposition or statement, and there's the predicate. The predicate is the quality or the relation that's being asserted about the subject, the thing, the category that's being said or about the subject. That's what the predicate is in Aristotelian logic. Now, all categorical propositions take one of four forms. Now, this is interesting because as we will see later, especially in the future, not in this course, later on, if we get to syntaxial logic, you will see that all that matters for the rules of logic is the form of a statement. If we can fit a statement into a particular form, then the rules of logic will apply regardless of the specificity or the specifics of the statement itself, right? So this is a very neat realization because it means we don't really need to know the nitty-gritty of every statement out there. Goodness, there'll be innumerable statements that people make, but if we can fit them into identified categories, then the rules of logic wouldn't care about what's in there. It only cares about the box that contains it. This is very neat. So categorical propositions, there are four forms or four categories. And these are defined based on quantity and quality. And here, I should be clear. What we mean by quantity is it universal or particular? So is the statement saying all things or is it saying these very things? Okay, that's what we mean by quantity. And as far as quality, what's being said about that? Is it saying, is it affirming it that it's positive, that it is the case, that it is true? Or is it denying it, saying it's negative? So based on those two, we have four categories. And pay attention, this form is going to be very important downstream. So we have universal affirmative, and this is the form. It's saying all X are Y, or just as I have it here, all S subject are P predicate. Any statement that can fit into that will be a universal affirmative. So like all dogs are animals. Okay, that would be a universal affirmative, although I'm aware there might be some in the United States that would deny that. But we'll roll with it for now. Okay, that all dogs are animals. That would be an example. And then we have universal negative, right? No S R P. No subject are predicate. Okay, that will be an example of a universal negative. So, again, I'm aware some people might have issues with this, but logically, this is correct. No dogs are humans. Okay, no dogs are humans. Okay, that would be an example of a universal negative. And then we have particular affirmative. That's the one that says some subject or predicate. And then the next one is particular negative, which says some subject are not predicate. Some X are not Y. Okay, there'll be more examples coming up. And again, notice for in Aristotelian logic, notice how this works. We are saying when we say all S are P, we are, S is a term, the subject, P is the predicate, and we are applying, we are saying this category here of predicate, S is such a thing that shares that or qualifies in that, that's what I'm trying to convey with these Venn diagrams. So these shaded portions I don't even know what color that is, whatever these colors are, that's the kind of stuff we are saying when we say all A are C or some A are C, we are saying there's this shared boundaries. It's such that this item over here, this subject over here, shares this property over here. That's what we mean by that's what we are trying to convey here. And there'll be more examples coming up shortly. So again, universal affirmative. Again, the form is all S R P. Okay. So like for instance, all believers are saved. Okay, in Christian theology, all believers are saved. Again, notice the subject is believers. Okay, the all there is what we call a universal quantifier. Okay, the subject is believers, and the predicate is saved. So what this is saying is we are saying that we are certain that the subject here is such that this predicate saved applies to this subject, and the universal quantifier is all. So we're saying this predicate applies to everybody in this box that is occupied by the subject. Okay, so all believers are saved. Now, another example might be okay, there will be no time to flesh this one out. All angels are wingless creatures. Okay, I understand that for the longest time we've all been led to believe that angels are such beings that have wings. That's not the case. Biblically speaking, in the Bible, no angels have wings. There are other creatures that have wings, and they are not angels. Okay, angels are just a subset of other divine beings. Okay, the seraphims and the cherubims, those are different categories of beings completely. They are not angels. Angels are wingless, but we might in the future flesh that out. Another example might be to say, all who are led by the Spirit of God are the children of God. Okay, all who are led by the Spirit of God are the children of God. Okay, uh, so universal affirmatives. Universal negative. Again, the form is no S RP. No S RP. The predicate is such that no item under this subject qualifies. Like this predicate doesn't apply to any category that's identified under the subject. So no sinners are righteous. Okay, no sinners are righteous. That's an example. Another example might be from Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. No one can serve two masters. No one can serve two masters. It's never the case that uh, a subject, in this case humans, can serve two masters. Of course, the masters that Jesus envisions here are God and Mammon, often translated as money. Okay. Again, you get the gist. We can go real quick through the next one here, which would be the universal particulars. Again, these some S RP. Okay, so an example would be some disciples were fishermen. Another example might be some prophets performed miracles. Uh, and so on. Oh, something is missing here. I'm gonna have to fix that later. Um, Again, the last category we have here are the O's. It says some S are not P. Okay, some S are not P. So these are like particular negative. Okay, so some believers are not preachers. Okay. Again, another example might be some Pharisees were not hypocrites. Now, this one is important because again, in the typical church experience and tradition, we have taught people over the years that all the Pharisees, they were just so selfish. They were people that were after the law. They have no sense of grace. They just want to do everything by works. That's not true. That's a caricature of the reality. Some Pharisees were in fact not hypocrites, and they were steadfast, and they were God lovers, and they were interested in fleshing out what it is that the scripture was pointing to. Of course, Gamaliel is an example. Nicodemus is another example. Paul is an example. And these are just named examples that we know about. But for sure, some Pharisees were not hypocrites. They were God lovers, like everyone else. So here's a quick quiz for you to do. If you are so motivated, you can let us know your answer in the comment sections, and then we can all interact with it. But the idea is to classify these examples here, identify them. Are they A, E, I, or O? Are they universal affirmative, universal negative, particular negative, particular affirmative? So let's move on. Again, like I said earlier, the cool thing about logic, and this may be why some people think logic is mathematics, is that if we can put a statement, a proposition into a form, a correct form, then the rules of logic will apply regardless of, what so for instance, all the examples we've talked about under universal particulars, or any of the other categories, the rules of logic will apply to them similarly and equally, regardless of which examples we pick. What matters for the rules of logic is the form that the proposition take. And that simplifies things a whole lot. So instead of having to deal with each particular statement that the human mind can come up with, if we can fit them all into a fixed number or limited number of forms, then we only have to worry about the forms and not about the particular content. And the rules will still apply and it will still be correct. Again, so we're gonna keep this here for today. Remember, there is more on decolonizedchristianity.org, and follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And please, if you find this helpful, share this content. And next time, we will finally begin to do what most of you are probably have been waiting for: how to construct arguments and how to know whether arguments are valid or not. So in our next installment, which will be the rules of valid syllogism. See you next time. Thank you.